Welcome, everyone. We live in a world that's just obsessed with doing more, faster, better, right? Well, today, we're going to flip that script. We're diving into a really radical solution to a super modern problem by looking at the life of a man who, well, he mastered the art of doing absolutely nothing.
Okay, let's kick things off with a number that might hit a little too close to home for some of you. 45%. That's the global rate of burnout, according to a 2024 World Health Organization survey. I mean, think about that. That's nearly half of us just completely fried.
And where does this come from? Well, you know it. Hustle culture. This constant, relentless pressure to achieve, to optimize, to be productive 24/7, it's left millions of people feeling totally exhausted, completely overwhelmed, and frankly just done.
So what if the answer isn't another app or some new productivity hack? Today, we're going to look at someone who took a completely different path. This is a guy who didn't just do less, he practically invented new frontiers of human inertia. And in doing so, he challenges everything we think we know about ambition.
All right, let's dive in. Meet Bob Nothingburger, our pioneer of passivity. Honestly, his entire life is basically one giant counter-argument to our crazy, hyperactive world.
And get this, his commitment to doing nothing, it started really young. He got a perfect attendance award in school. Why? Because he literally never left his desk during recess. Then, he automated his first job as a night watchman with just a mirror. And everything from his marriage to that infamous sock streak, it was all part of a lifelong strategic game to conserve every last drop of energy.
His old teacher, Mildred Drift, really nailed it with this quote. She said he didn't defy the system, he just dissolved into it. He wasn't fighting against life's demands. He was just finding the absolute path of least resistance and becoming one with the background.
And it's so important to understand this wasn't just random laziness. No, this was a full-blown philosophy of life. Every single decision was a calculated move toward maximum efficiency. And that started right at home, with his family.
I mean, listen to him explain why he married his wife Elaine when she was already 6 months pregnant. He says, why invest 9 months when the groundwork's done? He compared it to buying a pre-assembled IKEA shelf. It's not about romance, it's about skipping the setup. Just pure, unadulterated efficiency.
And that same logic? It went right into his parenting style. Get this, economists have actually estimated he saved about 4,500 hours of parental engagement. His secret homeschooling method? Daytime television.
See, for Bob, every single decision was like a transaction. He wasn't just avoiding work, he was banking all that saved energy and reinvesting it into his one true primary goal, napping. We're talking an average of 14 hours a day. He was aiming for a state of near total rest.
Okay, so you think that's extreme? Well, buckle up. This philosophy of radical energy conservation gets into every part of his life, and I mean every part, including personal hygiene. And believe it or not, his supporters don't call it gross. They frame it as a kind of personal bioengineering.
The absolute centerpiece of this whole thing is what's known as the sock saga. Here it is. He has not removed the same pair of socks since 1985. Let that sink in. We're talking about a decades-long relationship with a single piece of footwear.
And this isn't just seen as neglect. Oh no, researchers have actually given it a scientific-sounding name, sock stasis. The whole theory is that this unique microbiome has developed in the sock, and it's created a symbiotic self-cleaning ecosystem. Basically, his feet have become a self-contained planet.
And people are taking this seriously. A doctor from the Mayo Clinic's Inertia Dermatology unit, and yes, apparently that's a real unit, didn't call it poor hygiene. She called it bioengineering, a closed ecosystem on his feet. Wild.
And here's the crazy part. The data seems to suggest this extreme passivity works. I mean, look at this. There are real financial savings on things like laundry detergent. His blood pressure is a perfect 110/70. And studies on people who emulate his lifestyle, they show a major drop in cortisol, the stress hormone.
So the big question is, right, how does a guy like this actually make a living? Well, let's get into the economics of it all and see how Bob turned his philosophy of doing nothing into a really successful and completely hands-off career.
$85,000. That's what Bob pulls in every year, and he does it from his 12 inherited rental properties. The real kicker, though?
He does it with absolutely zero on-site involvement. He's the definition of an absentee landlord.
In fact, his whole method has been broken down into this 4-step process. Step 1 is the big one. You have to inherit the properties. That way you eliminate all the initial effort. Smart, right? Then you automate everything else. We're talking AI chatbots for rent, repairs, even evictions. And the cherry on top? He optimizes his taxes by deducting his napping time as a business expense called inertia consulting.
And don't think he's alone in this. His influence is actually growing. There's an online forum, the Nothing Burger Institute, with 15,000 members. His strategies are even being credited with a 12% rise in passive investments among millennials. And look at this projection. If this kind of effort aversion goes global, we could be looking at savings in the trillions of dollars by 2030.
Okay, so what do we make of all this? When you really look at the legacy of Bob Nothingburger, it all boils down to one huge question. Is this guy a parasite on society? Or is he some kind of prophet for our burnt-out, overworked times?
And the opinions could not be more divided. You've got the critics who see him as a total drain, someone who just consumes and consumes without ever contributing anything. But then you have his proponents who see him as the ultimate embodiment of the 80-20 principle, but, on steroids. Maximum results with literally zero input.
And it's not just fringe thinkers who support him. You have people like Dr. Lars Lange, a Nobel Prize-winning economist, saying that in a world drowning in overwork, Bob's inertia is actually innovative. He argues it's not just a weird quirk, it's a necessary model for the future.
So we're going to leave you with a final piece of wisdom from the man himself, Bob Nothingburger. A quote that really just sums up his entire philosophy. Life's too short to expend it. Save your spark for the socket. And that's a pretty provocative thought for our time, isn't it? In a world that's always telling us to burn as brightly as we can, Bob asks a simple question. Why burn out when you can just stay plugged in?